Uncharted is the newest video game movie from Hollywood, and the biggest question is, does it suck? Let's talk about that. Hey there guys, so let's just get this out of the way. 99.9% of all video game movie adaptations suck, except for this right here. But that was over 25 years ago. Uncharted, based on the popular video game series, follows Nathan Drake, played by Tom Holland, and the character of Sully, played by Mark Wahlberg. Hey listen kid, you better not double cross me. You wanna go look for treasure or something? That's my crappy Mark Wahlberg impression, let's keep going. And they team up on a quest to find the long lost treasure of Magellan. First of all, I'm a sucker for a great action-adventure treasure hunt movie. I love films like The Mummy, Indiana Jones, National Treasure, and The Goonies. By the way, at one point in this film, it reminded me of The Goonies a little bit too much. But the big difference between all those movies I just mentioned and Uncharted is, those are good movies. They're compelling. I like the stories. I want to go back and rewatch those over and over again. Uncharted, it's none of those things, and I'm going to tell you why. But first, because treasure hunting's a dirty job and I'm poor, here's a quick mention to the sponsor of this video. Big thanks to Dr. Squatch for sponsoring this video. This soap right here is called Pine Tar. It's all natural. It smells majestic, manly, and most importantly, it smells fresh. And it's actually not in the box right now because I've been using it. But don't just look at it, let's use it. My name's John Flickinger, and I have a rigorous shower routine. I first decide on which soap to use. I settle on Dr. Squatch Men's Natural Soap Pine Tar, which contains oatmeal and sand for heavy grit to truly cleanse my skin. Then, Dr. Squatch Men's Natural Shampoo Cypress Coast, which contains oat protein. To top it off, I use Dr. Squatch Men's Natural Conditioner Cool Citrus, which I leave in for 2 minutes. It leaves me with a cool, fresh feeling. Then finally, I use Dr. Squatch Men's Natural Deodorant Birchwood Breeze, which is aluminum free. Most soaps and body washes I've used in the past contain harsh chemicals, but with Dr. Squatch, it's all natural. Alright, I hope you enjoyed our shower together. I know I did. I just smell like a man. And the best part is new customers can get 20% off on orders of $20 or more. Use my code DSQFlickPick and click the link in the description below. Big thanks to Dr. Squatch once again for sponsoring this video and to you guys for listening. Now let's get back to the video. I hope you enjoyed that. If you didn't, well, I'm sorry, but either way, I had a ton of fun making it. Now let's talk about the cast of this film. And when it comes to Tom Holland, I think he's a talented actor and he makes a great Peter Parker. But with all of that said, he was terribly miscast as the character of Nathan Drake. This movie just felt like Peter Parker goes on a treasure hunt. This did not feel like the character of Nathan Drake, and this is coming from a guy who's only really dabbled with the Uncharted games a few times over the course of his life. And the last time I played one of the Uncharted games was like 2010, and mostly I just watched my friends play them during college. I'd sit back on a beanbag eating gummy bears, drinking Mountain Dew. I'm like, oh, okay, that looks fun. Come to think of it, watching my friends play Uncharted was probably a better experience than watching the movie. It felt more immersive, and it was more or less a better storyline, and at least you got the real Nathan Drake. Now let me say this, I completely understand from a business standpoint why Sony cast Tom Holland as Nathan Drake. He's an up-and-coming young actor, he has potential to make a ton of sequels before he ages out of the role, and they can also capitalize on all that Spider-Man success, because Sony loves money. And in all fairness, Tom Holland looks like he has the physicality to be in this role. He looks agile, he can do parkour, he can climb things and dangle on them. Essentially, I'm just describing Spider-Man right now, and once again, it just felt like I was watching Peter Parker go on a treasure hunt. And speaking of that, at times in this film, it felt like Nathan Drake had superpowers. He's falling out of airplanes for 5 minutes, he's getting hit by cars, 10,000-pound boxes are hitting him in the head. I understand not killing off your main character, but maybe he gets a shoulder dislocated, maybe he breaks his arm, maybe he has a bloody nose. No, none of that? Okay. And it feels like when you play a video game on God mode and no damage can be inflicted on your character, that's essentially what's happening in this movie. It just takes you out of it because there's no element of true danger. And I have one last thing to say about his character, actually a few more things, but the film never establishes this, and maybe the games do. But how does a 20-something-year-old bartender learn all these hand-to-hand combat skills and how to use a firearm? I understand he knows the history of treasures, like you can read a book and probably learn things like that, but where did he pick up all those other skill sets? And there's one last thing I have to say about his character. He almost comes across like a hypocrite, and the character logic that he has makes no sense, because as the movie opens up, he's working his job and he pickpockets people to make money. But then like 10 minutes later, he'll call out the character of Sully for having no moral compass and only caring about gold. It's like, you're a thief, dude. Seems pretty hypocritical. Now listen here, kid. I only came here to get treasure and go home. And if you got a problem with that, say hi to your mother for me. Now, as far as Mark Wahlberg playing the character of Sully, I don't really care about the character of Sully. Just give Mark Wahlberg a mustache by the end of the movie and call him Sully. He's a fine supporting role in this movie, as far as I'm concerned. Now, this is just my theory and speculation, but many, many years ago, David O. Russell was actually working on an Uncharted film that never came to fruition, and attached to that film to play the character of Nathan Drake was Mark Wahlberg. So I think for the last decade, he's just been attached to the project, and Sony said, okay, well, what can we do with Mark Wahlberg now? I don't know, make him Sully. And that's what they did. That's just my theory. Now let's talk about the plot and story of this movie. The screenplay to this film is just incomprehensibly bad at times. It's very muddled, especially during the middle of the movie. It makes Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland look like bad actors at times, just because of the material they're given to say and do in the movie. In all honesty, the storylines from the video games are probably more interesting and make more sense, and they're more compelling. Just watch the cutscenes. And the great thing is about the video games is, during the action sequences, you get to play as the character, so it's not boring. Now let's get back to the screenplay of this movie. It's very contrived and very rushed at times. There's many action sequences and moments in this film where the characters are in danger and peril, but what happens is the film never really builds up to these sequences. For example, there's one scene where they almost drown to death. It just randomly and instantly happens, and if you blink your eyes, they're already out of the situation. Whoa, let's savor those moments and make us care about them and get us immersed into them so we can feel that danger that these characters are in. Now let's keep going. At one point in this film, it dedicates 25 minutes of runtime to showing these characters discovering these secret dark passageways underneath this city. Keep in mind, no one's been in these ancient ruins for hundreds and hundreds of years. But right beside one of these ancient undiscovered temple passageways is some techno nightclub, and the only thing separating these two rooms is a vent in the wall. Let me give you a quick comparison. This is the equivalent of the ancient temple where Indiana Jones found the Holy Grail if that ancient temple was located beside a Walmart. Oh look, low price deals in the Cup of Christ. It's just stupid little details like that in a screenplay that just take me out of it. How hard would it have been to adjust those things and just tweak them? It just comes across as lazy. Now let's get back to video game adaptations into movies, and at times in this film, it does feel like you're watching an extended take of a video game cutscene, especially because the CGI is so heavy and glossy and digital looking in this film. You might as well just be looking at a video game cutscene. And by the third act of this film, it gets so big and bloated and over-the-top bombastic with CG, where anything that can happen will happen, but I sort of enjoyed the last sequence of this film. It was like, oh, okay, well, at least I can look at it and be sort of like entertained, but I don't ever want to watch this again. And the last thing I want to say about the story of this film is every great action adventure film needs a great villain. And in this film, the villain sort of shows up by the second, third act of the movie. They're just there, they do a few things, and I don't remember their name. Because what this movie needed was a really good, charismatic, but threatening villain who could chew up the scenery and give you something to remember. And yeah, like I said, I don't even remember the name of the villain. I could look it up on IMDb right now, but who cares? And with all that said, here are my final flicking thoughts about Uncharted. Once again, Hollywood has given us another letdown of a video game movie, but I understand if younger kids enjoy this movie, and they probably will. If they're fans of Tom Holland as Spider-Man, they'll probably enjoy Tom Holland doing action type stuff, looking for treasure in this movie. And maybe if I was 11 years old too, I would probably have enjoyed this movie. Actually, that's a lie. If I was 11 years old, I would have been watching Temple of Doom instead of this movie. Uncharted is an instantly forgettable action film no one's probably going to talk about in 2 months. But most likely, we will be getting sequels to this film because there are a few after credit scenes, so check those out if you want to. That's my review of Uncharted. Now here's my question for you, and let me know down below if you've seen the movie, what did you think about it? Or what is your favorite treasure hunt movie of all time? And you can't mention Indiana Jones. Too easy. And if you want to, check out my Jackass Forever review where I give my origin story before starting YouTube. Yeah, I did some weird stuff like this. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe. That way, I can see you next time.